Bettis, and we're going to jump into question number 4. So, take me back to February 5th, 2006, Super Bowl Sunday, Pittsburgh Steelers versus Seattle Seahawks. At home, Ford Field, Jerome has a chance to win a Super Bowl at home and ride off into the sunset. How did you feel on that day?
That day, I didn't think that day would ever come. I prayed and hoped, come on. But it came, and it was the most exciting thing we had ever been through. And I mean, for 13 years, we had went and traveled and went through all the games and went through everything with the wins and the losses with him and the weather and, you know, the sunshine and the rain, the 3 degrees below zero, whatever it was, whatever he went through, we went through it with him. So it was incredible for us to get there. And the fact that Jerome had planned to leave the year before, we were saddened that he did not get a chance to get a Super Bowl ring, you know. But
one more year.
Yeah, but we felt if this is his time to leave, then it's his time. You know, we supported him, whatever. And then when it came up that he may go back and do one more year, and that was because that Super Bowl was being played in Detroit, his hometown, and he thought he had a winning team.
We can do this.
We can do this.
At home.
At home. And that right there, I think, is really what spurred him on. And that got us going. So we cheered him on. I mean, we were there. It was incredible. That whole last year was the best year. All the games, you know, he had taken a step back on his position and on the team, but it didn't matter. Whatever he had to do to be there, to be on that team, because and these guys were standing behind him. They knew.
Oh yeah, they wanted it for him.
My God, they wanted it for him.
Yes, they did.
So they got it for him. And when we were there, we were in the suite, and there were so many of us in there, and we could barely see him down there. But you know, we knew where to look for him. We just watched the game, and when the game was over, I'm telling you, we cried. I was crying. My husband was crying. We were sitting there. We were like, I just can't believe this has actually happened. We started this journey with Jerome. I started with him in high school when he first started playing, and I would get off work and come to the games, but the practices, I would be there with him for the practice. It would just be he and I. We sat there, and I would sit in my car outside the fence beside the school and watch them practice. And one day he came to me and he said, "Mom, the coach said he wants you to come inside because they think you're a spy. They don't know who you are." Sitting out here watching, they think you from the other team. So would you come inside the field? Yes, I will. So I drove my car and I walked in and sat on the bleachers so they could see me. Yes, and I told him I did. I wanted to be there and watch him with practice and make sure nothing happened to him and everything. And I did. I was there at all the practice. And then on the game day on Friday, I worked, but then I would get off early on Friday and go to his games. And those years were not counted in that 13 years. That was just from the pros. I didn't even count his college. You know, it was as many years in there. And when in high school, when it started, I started watching him, and he was going at it. And I told my husband, I said, something is happening, and I think you might want to be a part of this. I think you need to start coming down there. And so he was working also, so he would get off on Fridays and come and watch the game. And I told him, I said, I think you had better do this.
You saw it.
Yep, I saw it. And he started coming down, and that was it. He never left after the end. You know, he fussed and fussed, but
and you guys were all the time,
packed
up, ready to go.
Ready to go.
All the time. He was the first one. He was the first one.
Right. And then I remember one of the games, he wasn't going. He said, well, I'm not going. I said, okay, that's all right. I'm going without you.
Mm-hmm.
You going anyway? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm going. And this was in college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going anyway. He said, okay, we're going to the bowl game in New Orleans, mm-hmm. and I said, that's all right, I'm going. He said, okay, well, we can drive. I'm like, because we didn't have money.
Right.
And so we were going to drive down, and some people were coming with us, and at the last minute, they chickened out, so that's like 18 hours or so mm-hmm. that he and I have to do on this road by ourselves, but we were going to do it. But we had checked in the airline to see, and the ticket was so high, so we just kept checking in. Just before it was time for us mm-hmm. to leave, because we'd have to leave a couple of days early, we called the airline one more time, and the ticket had dropped.
Really?
And we ran straight, got our tickets, and jumped on the plane.
Wow.
We sure did, the two of us, and went to New Orleans. Yes, wow. God was just in there. God had a plan.
Absolutely.
We just didn't know, and he was in that plan, mm-hmm, and he worked it out for mm-hmm. us. And from then on, I guess we were believers. Whatever we had to do, we were there. If we were in a plane, I remember when he was in Los Angeles, we would go, and most of the time it would be just me and his dad. Sometimes my sister would go to the games and John would go, but they couldn't take off all the time and go. So a lot of the games going to California, just my husband and I. LA Rams. And Jerome they would beat him up so bad, and we would leave and we would go to his apartment with him, and we would get him iced up. We'd get ice and we'd get bandages. I remember we had boxes. We'd take the box and put the box on the bed and put his leg up on the box and bandaged it all up. And that's the way half the time we left him laying just like that, iced up, and we'd have to leave and go to the airport. We'd have to red our home on Monday night so we could get back on Mondays and my husband could go to work. Because we took off on Fridays, and we took off as many days as we can, and he stopped taking a vacation during the year. He could use those days.
That's family time.
I
mean, that's family.
You guys were there. Yep. And then on Monday we get back, and he need to get some rest.
Right.
So he rest Monday, go to work Tuesday.
You guys put all that time in.
All of it. Years. Yes.
Super Bowl.
So when we got to that Super Bowl, you can imagine that's how we felt. All of it just came down. Yeah, it just came down on us, and we were like, "Thank you, Jesus. Wow. Thank you."
Yeah, that was
amazing.
It
was the amazing win, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And when he stood on that platform and he held that trophy up and he said, "This was all I played for," and it finally came to this. And I understood when he kept saying, "You got to get the Super Bowl. You have to get that." I understood.
Right.
Once he got it, and he said, "This is it, and this is my last game."
Wow.
We were like, "Yes."
At home.
This is it. At home.
This team the Steelers wanted to make sure that ended that way. And it's amazing when teams do that. Remind me of Ray Lewis. When Ray Lewis and they won, the Ravens won for them.
Yes.
He had the torn shoulder.
Yes, he sure did.
He was all messed up, but they went through it.
But they did it.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Those Steelers wanted that.
They wanted it.
So now that we're talking about that, and how did you feel about that? Yes, I'm going to talk about it. That AFC playoff game.
That champ. You know what? I did not watch. I had to go with Kim to an affair, so I was trying to watch it on my phone, and I was watching it, and then I had to turn it off because it was eating up my battery. So I turned it off, and so I called John the next day, and or 2 days later, I said, "John," he said, I said, "The game." He said, "Mom, we hadn't talked about the game because we usually call and analyze." He said, I said, "Well, John, what happened?" He said, "Ben did not play his game. And they took Bale." I said, "Well, what the hell happened with Bale?"
He got hurt.
He said, "Bale had a groin injury." I said, "You know what?
Right at the beginning of the game.
That reminds me of Jerome at the same damn game.
In New England.
And he had a groin injury.
In New England. Absolutely.
That's what I said. I don't understand that. I don't understand it. And
they
John
got to
said,
stay the hell out of it. They need to stay away from Foxborough.
I'm telling you.
y'all to learn how to get them home field
Gotta get somebody
advantage.
else that can knock them out of damn playoff. We cannot. He said, but he told me. I said, well, what about Ben? Because Ben was on fire the week before.
Their
But
defense,
then he said Ben
defense
couldn't
was all
do it.
over.
He said he was
Their defense was all over them.
Is that what happened?
They just played a better game. They played a better game. It just wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be.
It was that Foxborough that same old next thing.
He said a growing injury. I said, really?
Yes.
He said, yeah, but he didn't get it then. It was something that he had before.
Yeah, and I think when he did a cut.
He probably did a cut and hit it, you know, and apparently he hadn't said it.
But D'Angelo
apparently
was
they
there.
hadn't reported it.
D'Angelo was there. He was running. He was running.
I said, what
It just was. They just shut it down. Their defense shut it down.
Well, did D'Angelo? Did he get any?
Yeah, he could. If he could have. Yeah. Their defense just wasn't happening.
Just wasn't.
Yeah, they weren't ready. They weren't ready.
Okay.
It's all right. Maybe next year. Here we go, Steelers.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Steelers.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We'll be back with our last question.